Let's bring in Jeff Patterson, our Canucks reporter, the host of RinkWide Vancouver. He'll have a busy weekend with the game tonight against Columbus and Sunday's matinee against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Jeff's at Rogers Arena. How are you? Bracing for Taylor?
His one and only trip to Rogers Arena, by the way.
I came down early thinking that, again, I get the concert isn't until later tonight, but I just thought traffic and road closures, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm happy to report that it was easy to get to Rogers Arena. Now, getting out of here and later tonight, who knows? But I did make it down with plenty of time to spare. So, yes, no Taylor mania just yet in and around Rogers Arena / BC Place.
Pat's going to the concert, though, I hear.
She is, yeah. Lucked into some tickets. I guess she knew the system. She was set up all week, and she was getting tipped off that there were going to be tickets dropping last night, and she had 3 laptops set up on the coffee table and was working the system. And, yes, bouncing off the walls when she lucked into a pair of floor tickets for tonight. So
The glee.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Good for you guys. All right.
So the big news, what do you think? Demko's going to back up tonight, Jeff? We were saying, please don't get hurt, Kevin Lankinen. Not tonight. That would be a bad spot.
it is wild, guys. Like, if you're the backup, you are good to go. Like, that much we know, and you're one knock away. And we've seen it. And you guys documented some of the occurrences over the years in Canucks lore. I mean, this one absolutely would be right up there. And wouldn't that be something after all Thatcher Demko has been through, if he was thrust into this game cold with no warm-up? It's a calculated risk. And look, he's had a bunch of practices here and clearly has come through them with flying colors to get to this point to be activated. Now, he does have to be activated from season-opening injured reserve. He's not on the roster at the moment, but will be before the end of the day. And the question is, do they send Artur Silovs down to Abbotsford, or do they keep three goalies around just to make sure that Thatcher gets through his role? I mean, he'll take warm-up after that. You presume he'll sit on the bench for the rest of the night. The way Rick talked about it, practice tomorrow here at Rogers Arena, and then there will be a discussion about a Sunday 1 o'clock start. And might we see Thatcher Demko get the start against the Tampa Lightning? Could it be Tuesday against the St. Louis Blues? Tampa, by the way, beat San Jose 8-1 last night and is the second highest scoring team in the National Hockey League. So on some levels, you'd think maybe the Tampa Lightning, not the ideal start for a guy like Thatcher Demko, who's been on mothballs for the better part of 9 months now. But it is the NHL, and even the weaker teams are still going to present a test and a challenge. But maybe that St. Louis game on Tuesday with a 7 o'clock conventional start time and a day to prepare. Who knows how it all shakes down. All we know is that Kevin Lankinen gets the start tonight, and Thatcher Demko's back in uniform, and that much represents a big victory for him personally and for the hockey club, because he means a ton. This is a guy that's been around for, in terms of tenure, he's been here longer than most and is respected in that locker room, and he's been around the team, but sort of at an arm's length and, doing his own thing, working out and rehabbing. But now he gets back in uniform, and so, you guys played the clips. He was downplaying it a little bit, understated and reserved. I do think of the one clip, Blake, he mentioned that he was out of week to week, and now it was day to day. And so that in his mind, that represented some progress here on the timeline. So whatever the case, we're going to see 35 back in a Canuck jersey for the warm-up at the very least. And I think for this night at least, it would be a good thing if we don't see him in game action facing live bullets.
No matter who's in net, they need to be better at home. And I didn't love the tone that I got from Talkett's clip there, talking about the home record and the fact that it's maybe in their head and a self-fulfilling prophecy to some degree. Of course, these skids don't get broken without you just winning. Like, the only cure to the losing at home is winning. What's your confidence that they can, pardon the pun here on this night, shake it off here and become a better home team?
I think they feel that they accomplished a fair bit out on this road trip, picking up 9 of a possible 12 points, and that they're coming home feeling better about themselves. A guy like Jake DeBruski is riding an absolute heater right now. Now, a lot's been made about streaky Jake DeBruski. It is time for him to score a goal here at Rogers Arena. Like, let's just get over it. It's December the 6th, 2 months into the season, all 11 of his goals. I can't imagine, guys, in NHL history that there have been many guys that have scored 11 goals, all of them on the road before they have scored a home goal. I just can't imagine goal scorers score at home and on the road. So you might get a fourth-line grinder that has a 4-goal season and they just happen to all come on the road. But Jake DeBrusk's the goal scorer. And so it is a bit of an outlier. It has to happen for him here. And back to your point, like, yes, if their best players just played a little bit better at home, I think they would stand a much better chance. Elias Pettersson is the only guy on this team that has more than 3 goals on home ice. They've played 11 games. Like, they've played a quarter of their home ice schedule here. So power play was good on the road trip, and hopefully they can sort of bring that home with them. A couple of power play goals here or there. And, guys, we should mention that this was sort of the storyline going into Detroit last Sunday was the Red Wings could not kill penalties. And then the Canucks got that 5-on-3, and they cashed in on both ends of it. The Columbus Blue Jackets have given up a power play goal in 11 straight games, according to their own game notes. There hasn't been a streak like this in the NHL in 20 years. So
Wow.
They gave up 2 against the Oilers last night. If the Canucks get power plays, they have to cash in. It's as simple as that. On this 11-game stretch, Columbus killing penalties at 60%. So it really has been an issue for Dean Evison and his hockey club. And they were playing well before they embarked out on this road trip, but they were shut out in Calgary the other night, got beaten handily, outplayed. McDavid had 4 assists, and the Oilers did a number on Columbus. So Columbus comes in having dropped a couple of games, and it just feels like, yes, the time is right for the Vancouver Canucks to put the home woes behind them. I suppose if we boil it right down, like the marquee out front of Rogers Arena could say, it's the 3 home ice win Vancouver Canucks against the 3 road win Columbus Blue Jackets. That's your matchup. Something's got to give here tonight.
Somebody's got to win the hockey game, right? That's the way this works. Somebody wins this hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Have we talked about Sasson?
No, feel free.
Jeff, he's liked Sasson so much he's going to give the kid a chance to play center tonight. Is that still accurate?
Yeah, Rick hinted at that again this morning after mentioning it yesterday, and I think it makes sense. Like, Max Sasson's been a center in Abbotsford. They brought him in and they wanted to get him in the lineup, and really the only spot for him to make his debut was on the wing. It's, I think, easier to break into the National Hockey League over on the wing, fewer responsibilities, and so he acquitted himself nicely, had the assist in his NHL debut, and we all saw the scenes of Dad and the rest of the family, and then again, the numbers multiplied when they went home to Michigan for the game in Detroit on Sunday. I think like a lot of guys, and we saw this with Lekkerimäki as well, shot out of a cannon, you get that adrenaline pumping for your NHL debut, you get a couple of good games, and then it starts to taper off. And I think there was some of that with Max Sasson. That's a lot of hockey. I mean, he played 5 games in 7 or 8 nights there at the NHL level, so quite a test for him all out on the road. This will be a big deal, I'm sure, for him getting a chance to play a game at Rogers Arena for the first time in his National Hockey League career. So he's going to get the center ice assignment. The other part of that is that Aatu Räty, by all accounts, played some of his best hockey last year down the stretch in Abbotsford on the wing, and I think the Canucks want to investigate this and see what they've got. If they need him to step in and take a face-off, we know that that's one of the areas that he can contribute. But for tonight, he's going to line up on the wing, and I am curious to see, because I haven't seen Aatu Räty at the National Hockey League level, even training camp in the preseason. They had him down the middle, and remember, he opened the season, and P.S. Suter was injured for a game there. Like, Aatu Räty made this team as one of their 4 centers. Obviously, there's been some moving parts, but through it all, he's remained pretty much a constant, but now he's going to slide to the wing. So I'm kind of curious what Sasson looks like handling the responsibilities of a center in the National Hockey League, but what does Aatu Räty bring to the mix moving over to the wing?
It's a worthwhile experiment. You want to build center depth, and you want to do that for the purposes of your own team, but also for trade assets down the road as well. You can ballyhoo a guy as a guy that can play down the middle. That doesn't hurt. So on the trade front, Nils Hoglander remains a Vancouver Canuck, starting to play better, just as maybe some of these trade rumors are starting to pick up a little bit more steam here. At home, how do you think the usage of Nils Hoglander is going to look tonight?
Well, he's going to start in a third-line capacity. We know that how you start and how you finish under Rick Tocchet can be 2 totally different things, and Hoglander's lived it. 6 minutes of ice time in Buffalo, got a little bit more in the Detroit game, although he was on the ice. He took that offensive zone penalty and then was on the ice for a couple of goals against the Red Wings. I thought he had some jump in Minnesota at the end of the trip, drew a penalty that led to the Quinn Hughes power play goal, had a couple of shots on goal. The goal drought has gone on way too long for a guy that scored as often as he did last season, but I almost put that aside. Like, I just want to see the high-energy Nils Höglander impacting games the way that he can. Goals, look, you can get shots, goalies are going to make saves. There's no guarantee that pucks are going to go in the net for you, but he can control his work rate, the hustle, the determination, eliminate the offensive zone penalties, and don't make the mistakes defensively that are going to limit your ice time. So hopefully Hoglander can build off the game in Minnesota. I know you guys talked about it. Start to finish, they lose the hockey game in overtime, but they had their chances. One of their better efforts, I think. So I know we won't start the moral victory conversation again, but I do think that a guy like Hoglander was part of that it was something to build on against a good Minnesota hockey club. I noticed him for the right reasons, and that just hasn't happened nearly enough through the first 24 games this season.
Who gets the bigger round of applause, Nils Hoglander for a goal or Dakota Joshua?
What's Joshua?
It's
Joshua.
I've seen 2 Nils Hoglander goals this year. Still waiting to see a Dakota Joshua goal, and he played 15 minutes against Minnie at the end of the trip. And when I talked about the grueling, taxing portion of the schedule for a guy like Max Sasson, you can only imagine that it's that much more so for a player like Dakota Joshua coming through what he has and without the benefit of a training camp and a preseason. So, on the fitness level, he was one of the guys that came out, took the morning skate here. I still think that there are levels to get to be at the top of his game. There have been some moments along the way. What astounds me through all this, it's 10 games. So, it's kind of a nice benchmark, nice round number to step back and, all right, what have we seen from him? Just 2 assists, but only 2 shots on goal, which surprises me for a guy that can get to the front of the net, bang away at loose pucks and rebounds. So he really hasn't been a threat to score a goal. And I think if you asked him, and I haven't had a chance because they've been out on the road here, but I think he would tell you that even if he had tempered expectations in his return, that it's been a little slower than he had hoped for. He waited, kind of like Demko. Like, we thought he was going to be ready, and he took a little extra time because he said, when I get back there, I want to be able to make an impact. Well, that hasn't happened yet, but the team's winning hockey games, and so that buys him time to continue to find his game. And ultimately for Dakota Joshua, it's not about what does he look like on the 6th of December. It's hitting his stride for the second half of the season and then ultimately the playoffs as well. So I still think you give this guy all the latitude in the world given what he has been through. But 10 games in, it's been a little bit underwhelming.
I'll never understand how important camp is. Camp has gotten shorter and shorter. We see it time and time again. The player that misses camp for contract or health reasons.
Well, camp and preseason.
Sets them so far back.
I know.
It's crazy.
Lastly, Jeff, you might be the single biggest hockey fan I know. In fact, you may like hockey more than anyone I know likes anything. With the exception of perhaps my better half and Taylor Swift. And by the way, baby, if you're watching, start planning the outfit. 4 lower bowl tickets tonight to the Canucks and Blue Jackets, or 2 upper bowls to Taylor Swift, Jeff. We're giving them to you free. No resell. Where are you going tonight?
Oh, I'm working. I've got RinkWide, so I'm unfortunately that was part of the problem. Is when my wife got these tickets and I couldn't go, and she said to me, she said, "Do you have to host RinkWide?" I was like, "It's game day. Like, I'm not. Like, we're a pretty small group. It's not like there's a bunch of hosts just hanging around waiting on Friday night to host RinkWide."
Matt, we have our answer.
We have Jeff. Say no more. Sweet Prince.
No. I would be all over a Taylor Swift concert. Now, my wife and daughter saw the show in Seattle last summer.
Remember that.
So I got the full report then. But, this is one of the great sort of cultural weekends in our city in a long, long time. And I think the people watching would be amazing. The vibe and the atmosphere sounds like it's incredible. I talked to people that were in Toronto a couple of weeks back that went and saw the show. We've had Taylor Swift on in our house and in our cars for years. And so am I a Swiftie? I don't know, but I certainly know a lot of her music. And I just think it sounds like she puts on one hell of a show. Like, the work rate for 3.5 hours, like, my goodness. So I got all the respect in the world for Taylor Swift and what she has accomplished, and as a songwriter and an artist and everything else. I would love to have gone to one of the shows this weekend. Alas, I don't think it's going to happen.
When this all started, Carmen's like, "Well, you're coming with me, right?" And I went, "No." not at those prices. I'd like to see it too. In fact, I've watched the Eras Tour with her. Looks like an incredible show. But that ain't worth this kind of money for
it's
me.
A lot. It's a lot.
Plus, send her to the show tonight. Then I get to go spend a lot of money on a football game that she doesn't care about at some point. Right?
Guilt-free, yes.
Amazing stuff, Jeff. Thank you for stick handling everything down at the rink and the traffic and the events. Events of this weekend. We'll be listening to RinkWide. I will catch up with you on Monday.
Do not cross Granville this evening.
Absolutely,
yes.
Jeff. We want you here, hunkered down at the Wall Center, lest anything happens. All the balloons, all the party streamers are being set up upstairs in the lobby as we speak. So make sure to get a
Enjoy.
photo.
We'll be listening.
That's as close as I'm going to get. To the
Yeah,
show,
that's
I guess,
right.
so.
The cardboard cutout of Taylor upstairs here in the lobby
All
level
right, guys.
of the North
Have
Tower.
a great weekend.
Be
ya.
well, Jeff.